Hello everyone, and today we're going to take our factory steering wheel for our Ford Mustang GT and go ahead and swap it out to this beautiful aftermarket one we have right here. It has a beautiful carbon fiber look as well as some nice beautiful orange trim. So let's get started. And for our very first step, we need to go ahead and remove the battery connection. So I'm going to go ahead and start by getting one of my hood struts off. And now we need to go ahead and remove the battery cover. So we'll go ahead and get the retaining clips out. So there's one, and there's two, and three. And we go ahead and lift up the battery cover and just lift straight out and then towards you. And then we'll go ahead and set that aside. Now we'll go ahead and grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench, and let's go ahead and disconnect the negative cable. So it should be just one nut. We'll go ahead and get that off. And almost there. There we go. Go ahead and lift up the cable, set it aside, and we'll go ahead and put the nut back so we don't lose it.
15 minutes later.
And after about 15 minutes have passed, we need to go ahead and remove the airbag. Unfortunately, we have one little obstacle. See if I can get my camera in the right view. So right there. So that little hole is what we need to get to remove the airbag. But unfortunately, this extended paddle shifter is in the way. So let's go ahead and peel these off for now. And I'm going to go ahead and do this by go ahead and peeling it from the center and then outward. Now, majority of you may not have these equipped. That's fine. This is something that was aftermarket that was added later. But we need to go ahead and take it off for this particular upgrade. And then we have access to the hole. So let me go ahead and pick up the camera. And right there. So now we have a lot better access, and that's what we need to get to. So I'll go ahead and put my camera back. And I'm going to go ahead and get the other paddle shifter as well. And that came off fairly easy. So now let's go ahead and take a 3mm Allen key, or you could take a 4. And we can go ahead and detach our airbag module. So we go ahead and press it right in that hole, and it's going to go about 40mm in, about that long. And our goal is to go ahead and compress that spring that's on the inside. So I'll align it just right, press inward, and then press the module outward. And just a little bit of prying, and it did detach. So now let's go to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. And it should come all the way out. And there we go. And it didn't fight me too bad at all. So I'll go ahead and put my Allen key down. And let's see if I can get a nice good angle. So we have 3 connectors we need to go ahead and remove. And let's see if I can get the camera still. And right there, these are the 3. We got 2 yellows and 1 black. The black one's pretty easy. All you gotta do is press down and pull out. The other 2 will just have a little extra step. So we'll start with the black one first. And that pulled right out. I'll go ahead and set that aside. And I do apologize about the bad camera angle. Now for these 2 yellow ones, you're going to take a flathead screwdriver and lift that orange tab up. Now I'm trying to do this very gently because we don't want to break it. So I did get one side up. This one, it should be a little easier to see. So we went ahead and lifted both of them up, and now you should be able to disconnect the yellow connectors. Go ahead and start with this one. Alright, so there's one. Did fight me a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. We'll get the other side, and that came right out as well. Very nice, and we'll go ahead and set the airbag aside very gently. And now moving in, we have one more connector we need to remove. And it's that guy right there. I know it's kind of hard to see since it's dark, but it's pretty easy to get to. So I'll go ahead and take some needle nose pliers just because my fingernails aren't long enough. Go ahead and compress down on the very top tab and then pull straight out. And almost there. There we go. And looking at it, nothing's damaged. Everything looks pretty good. And now we get to pull out the big wrench. So we're going to need a 24mm socket and a socket wrench. And let's go ahead and take off the 1 bolt that's holding the steering wheel on. And this only requires a little bit of force. And there we go. Loosened it right up. I'll go ahead and take this bolt all the way out. Try to do this very gently. And a few more threads. And there we go. And we'll go ahead and set that aside. And now what we'll have to do is just go ahead and pull on the steering wheel. And there we go. Let's go ahead and feed those cables right through. We don't want to yank or tear them. And be very gentle. And we'll go ahead and make sure the clock spring is aligned. Alright, very good. Now let's go ahead and take a piece of tape and let's go ahead and tape down that clock spring rotor. We don't want it to go ahead and move. So let's just tape it in place just in case we bump it later on. And you don't need much, just a little bit just hold in place. So now that we brought the steering wheel inside, now begins the fun part. So we're going to take this OEM one, take all the guts from it, and go ahead and throw it on the new one. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and bring the camera in just a little bit. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to grab our Torx T20 bit, and that's going to be your main tool for this particular job. And we'll go ahead and start with the right switch first. So we'll go ahead and take out the first 2 screws. And almost there. Alright, so there's the first one. Now we'll go and get the second one. Now try to separate these because this one does have a bigger flange on the bottom. So keep that in mind. And then all we have to do is go ahead and pull this switch right off. And this pulls right off. You don't need to get any special tools quite yet. And then we'll go ahead and disconnect that. So all you gotta do is press down on it and it comes right out. And these are color coded, that's the cool part. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing on the left side. So go ahead and remove the first screw. And almost there. Dropped it, but that's no big deal. And now we'll go ahead and work on the second one. Again, we'll separate them, keep them aside. And let's go ahead and pull that switch upward. And come on, almost there. There we go. And same thing, it's color code. This one has a gray tab or a gray connector. So go ahead and press down on it and pull right out. Come on. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and set that aside. Next, let's go ahead and remove the lower switches. So same thing, Torx T20. And go ahead and get the bottom one. It's got a big flange. And there's a silver one at the very edge. We'll get that one as well. Oop, almost dropped it. And there we go. Do the same thing on the other side as well. Now, I'm not going to disconnect these. I'm just going to go ahead and lift them up. So just keep that in mind. That's why you don't really see me disconnecting them. And we'll go ahead and lift that side. We're just going to get it pretty much detached from the OEM steering wheel. All right, so there's the other side. Now let's go ahead and get the lower bezel. Again, 2 screws. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and focus on the paddle shifters. Now, if you have a manual transmission, you can go ahead and skip this step. I'll go ahead and start by disconnecting them. And again, I'm not worried about the connectors because they're all color-coded. We'll go and get this one as well. This one's white. And come on. And there we go. And again, same Torx T20. And it's only held on by 1 bolt. There's nothing really special there. And that fell right out. And let's go ahead and see if we can get that screw out. And come on. There we go. And I'll do the same thing on the right side. And we'll go ahead and get that screw out, or at least try to. Come on. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put the screw in the paddle shifter just to keep track of which one goes where. And now let's go ahead and flip over our steering wheel, and we need to go ahead and remove this plastic trim. So I'm going to take a trim removal tool and just pry up from the corners first. Okay, so that detached. We'll go to the other side. And come on. Okay, so that detached. Now let's go to the bottom. And there we go. So we'll now go ahead and lift this straight up and be very gentle. We don't want to go ahead and damage any of these wires. So I'm going to go ahead and feed the connectors right through the hole, and I want this to come out as one piece. And there we go. That's exactly what I want. And there's that lower bevel. It came off really easy once I got everything apart. So now let's go ahead and set that aside and go ahead and move on to the last piece. So right here, this little backing plate, that's what needs to come off next. And it's held on by like 4 cushions. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It seems to create some kind of spring action. But no big deal. We need to go ahead and remove that and put it on the new one. So go ahead and take some small needle nose pliers. And what I'm going to do is very gently compress the top of these cushions. It's almost like a mushroom. So I'm just going to compress them just a little bit. And then go ahead and push downward so it pushes the backing plate away from the steering wheel. And I'm doing this with my other hand as well, so that way it kind of gets 2 points where it's actually pulling against the steering wheel. Alright, so we got the bottom 2 done. Let's go and get the top 2. Same thing, compress on the little cushion or mushroom, and then push downward. And for the last one, there we go. And that plate came off fairly easy. So now we're done with the OEM steering wheel. Now we can go ahead and put that aside. So now that we're past the halfway point, now we can get started assembling everything on the new one. So we'll go ahead and start with the backing plate. So we'll go ahead and take that same plate and put it in the exact same holes. Nothing special to it. Now the only caveat is it doesn't press right in. So you see I'm pushing down, it doesn't go in all the way. So we're going to use a 4mm and Allen key. And I'm going to go ahead and put it right in the holes and kind of work that mushroom back through the steering wheel. So there's one right there. Let's go ahead and get the second one. And I'm just working it in there, and it should fit right in there just with a little bit of force. So there's 3, and the last one, come on, number 4. That looks pretty good. Let's do a little check. Yep, looks like the backing plate is secure. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving forward. Now let's go ahead and bring in that steering wheel trim that has all of our wiring harnesses. We're going to put that right back in the same spot. So I'm going to go ahead and very gently put the trim right on the steering wheel while trying to feed in the connectors through the hole. And line everything up. And then we'll go ahead and press down on this trim in all the corners. We'll get the last one. Come on. And that felt pretty good. Yep, everything looks pretty good. No wires are pinched. Go ahead and flip it over. And now we can go ahead and start reassembling everything. We'll start with the lower switches first. So we'll get those into place. Take our same screws. Go ahead and start hand feeding them. And then go ahead and start screwing it down with our T20 Torx. Alright, so a little bit more. That feels pretty firm. And we'll go ahead and take our big flange screws. Go ahead and start tightening those down. And almost there. Alright, the right side looks like it's secure for now. Let's go ahead and work on the left. Same thing, go ahead and line it up. Get our screws in place. Alright, get that nice and snug. Do the same thing with the bottom one here. And almost there. There we go, nice and snug. Now let's go and start putting in the paddle shifters. Same thing, all you gotta do is put them into place. And we'll start by reconnecting the connectors. And again, they're color-coded, so all you gotta do is just insert them and it should snap right in. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and see if we can get it in perfect position, and it should fit nice and snug. Get our screw in there, hand start, and then we'll go ahead and snug it up. Do the same thing on the other side. Let's go ahead and plug in our connector, and this one's going to be the silver one. Come on. Come on. Ah, there we go. Get that into place, and we'll snug that one up as well. And, yep, that felt pretty good. And this is coming together pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and start our lower bezel. So right there at the very bottom of it, there's a little hook. We're going to put that in first. So we're going to press down. That feels pretty good. And now let's go ahead and install the 2 screws. And same thing, we're just going to tighten them up till they're nice and snug. And we'll get the second one. And there we go. Now for now, let's go ahead and put the steering wheel aside because we need to focus on the other 2 switches. Now if I wanted to, I can install them, but we have these orange bezels that go with it. So we need to take the switch assembly off first. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and there's 3 screws we need to remove. So it's that one right there, that one, and that one. And big surprise, Torx T20. So these come out really easy. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Go ahead and lift the switch assembly right out, put it aside. And we'll go ahead and bring in our brand new one. Look at that. Nice, beautiful orange. And this matches the paint completely. So this is a twister orange, and it looks really nice. So I'm going to put that same switch assembly right in the exact same spot and go ahead and install the same 3 screws. So we'll go start by hand tightening them. And there's number 2 and number 3. And we'll go ahead and snug them up. And that felt pretty good. And look at that. Look how nice that looks. So that's going to turn out really nice. We'll do the same thing on the other side as well. Same thing, 3 screws. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Take the switch assembly out. Bring the new bevel in. And then we'll go ahead and tighten this one down as well. And now we can bring our steering wheel back to the middle of the screen, and we'll go ahead and start putting these back in. And we'll go ahead and start the right side first. Match up the 2 colors. I guess that's kind of a light green. Snap that connector in, and now let's go ahead and press in that assembly. And we're going to start with the edge, should press right down. And yeah, that felt pretty good. Now unfortunately at the top right here, it does have a little bit of a gap, so we're going to snap that right in. And oh yeah, that sounded really good. So now let's go ahead and flip it back over and put in our screws. Now again, one has a bigger flange head than the other, so we'll go ahead and put the bigger one at the bottom and get the small one at the top. And we're going to just snug these up. And we'll repeat the same steps on the left side. And this is going to be a gray connector. And we'll get that snapped right in. There we go. And we'll go ahead and press it down right in place. And we'll go ahead and snug those up. So far this is looking really good. It's coming together very nice. So now we go ahead and torque all these screws down. And this is going to be 44 inch-pounds. So it's not going to require much. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Alright, so now I'm going to bring in my airbag module because with this set, it came with a new airbag module cover. So let's see if I can bring it in. Look at this. So this thing has nice, beautiful orange stitching, which looks awesome. Now for this particular task, I do recommend you send this to a professional to have done. I do not recommend you do this at home because it does require a lot of work. Because you're supposed to press down on the airbag module while lifting up on the cover to get around these tabs or these hooks. It's really hard to do because basically you got to get in there some true removal tools and lift the cover up around the hooks while you're pressing in on the cover. It's kind of weird. It's almost like you're fighting yourself because I'm trying to press down on it, compress it, while lifting it around the hooks. And this will require quite a few of those tools because you basically got to keep one in place for every single one of those hooks. So as I'm working this very thoroughly, I basically got to keep a tool in there just to keep it from going back and latching back down. And this has worked all the way around until basically this cover's really worked and loosened up. As you can see, I got a lot of these tools. Now, as I loosened it up, I started putting popsicle sticks right where those hooks are. They're basically thinner and more uniform, and so I don't have to actually pull out all these weird trim removal tools just to get to work. So as I'm fitting these in there, I'm just getting 1 per hook. And, yep, looks like I got them all. Looking around. Yep, looks like the cover's basically not latched in anymore. So now all I have to do is just pry the airbag from the cover. So I'll take one of my trim removal tools again and just start very gently prying upward. And, okay, almost there. And we'll go and remove some of those popsicle sticks. They're in the way. And then we'll go ahead and lift that up a little bit more. I'm trying to be gentle as possible. And look at that. So it looks like we're able to detach it. We'll go ahead and lift the rest of it off. And doing a visual inspection, it looks like we didn't damage anything, which is very important because this is a safety feature. And it looks like everything's in great shape. That's awesome. So now let's go ahead and take our new cover, face it down. We'll get our airbag module in place, and this lines up the exact same way we took it off. And we'll go ahead and line it up perfectly and press downward evenly. And come on. Almost there. All right, so there's one side attached in. There's a little bit more, so that looks pretty good. And we got the very top. And very nice. So that feels nice and snug, no damage. That's very important. Yep, feels like the same way as the old one, so that's a great sign. And now it's all downhill from here. So let's go ahead and install our steering wheel. So I'm going to take that one piece of tape off. Very nice. Let's go ahead and feed those connectors right through the steering wheel. And again, we're going to be very gentle with them. Go through the same holes we did earlier. And almost there. Okay. Make sure our clock spring's in the exact same spot. And there we go. Fits right on there. Everything looks pretty good. Nothing pinched. And now let's go and grab that bolt and some thread locking compound. And this is just the blue stuff. It's nothing heavy duty. And we got a decent amount on there. So we'll go ahead and start by hand threading this bolt in. And that feels pretty good. No cross threading. Go and grab our 24mm socket, and we'll go ahead and see if we can snug it up. And now we'll go ahead and get the torque wrench and set it to 35 foot-pounds. And this is actually my electrical one. I like this one. So we'll go ahead and torque it down. I'm going to try to do this while holding the steering wheel, so bear with me. And that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and start reconnecting the connector. This is the main one, and this snaps right in. Perfect. And all we have left are these 3 for the airbag module. So we'll go ahead and get that into place. And we'll go ahead and start with these yellow ones first. Now, they are color-coded. You're going to see one black and one yellow. So go ahead and insert the yellow one first. And come on. There we go. And we'll go ahead and do the black one as well. And we'll go ahead and press on those orange tabs just to lock it in. Beautiful. And we'll go ahead and insert our last one, which is our black one. And now we can go ahead and press in our airbag module. So all I have to do is just make sure everything's tucked in. We don't want to go ahead and pinch any of these wires. And then very evenly, go ahead and press in the airbag module. Oh, that's beautiful. That was actually textbook. Feels pretty good. Horn feels very nice. So now let's go ahead and reconnect our negative cable. So we'll go ahead and remove our nut, put our cable back on that particular stud, and go ahead and tighten it down. Start by hand tightening it. Then we'll grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench and make it nice and snug. And almost there. And, yep, that felt pretty good. Now let's go ahead and install the battery cover. And this has 3 slots at the very top, so we'll go ahead and get those into place. Yeah, everything fits pretty good. Now let's go ahead and install those 3 retaining clips. All right, so there's 1 and 2, and last one, number 3. And I'll go and reinstall that hood strut. Very nice. Now let's go ahead and start the vehicle. Yeah, I'll turn off the windshield wipers. I accidentally hit them. Okay, so far so good. Yep, don't see any unusual alarms. Yeah, it looks really nice. I'm going to turn on the music. So let's go and test out our buttons. Let's see. So it looks like that's working. Yep, we got some menu functions. That's great. Go on the left side here. Yep, volume control works. And with everything testing out perfectly, we can now admire a beautiful setup. You can take a look at the steering wheel. It adds a nice, beautiful offset to this twister orange. I love the nice orange trim. It looks immaculate. And now as an FYI, the extended paddle shifters, we just went ahead and reinstalled them with 3M double sticky tape. Nothing fancy. Well, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.